Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines we have here for you. Crypto path to Wall Street just got easier. You're going to want it. Ripple partner news. We got David Schwartz. Oh, yes, we do. And we got the G20, FSOC, and Greg Kidd, formerly of Ripple. You're going to want every single bit of it. Black Swan events. How about White Swan event? How about somebody roll that beautiful intro?
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, $1.21 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off by 0.6%. Good morning, everybody. 27,500 plus for Bitcoin, 1852 and change for Ethereum. Tether market cap 81.4 billion plus. We're watching it close. 46 cents now for XRP. It's bleeding 1.2 on the 24 hour and 10.9 on the 7-day. We're going to keep an eye on it, and we'll hear from the technical analyst in the next video today. You're going to want every single bit of that. As a reminder to everybody, Bob Way is going to be on stage with X Spectre, as long with, a long list of incredible people that are going to be on stage. And I tell you something right now, if you haven't done it, go get that web ticket, because we're going to shut the door on that too. Look, I told you guys this was going to sell out, and it has. There are going to be hundreds of people in that room watching some of the most high-profile, incredible people, projects, building out the XRP Ledger ecosystem, and we're going to celebrate them. From developers to influencers, we're going to celebrate them. And you should be there. You should see it too. Click the link. Get that ticket before we shut the door. No doubt about it. It's going to happen. Crypto's path to Wall Street just got easier with new plumbing. Oh, boy. Now, if you'll remember, and I'll just do a reminder here, I covered where the SEC had a unanimous vote to move to use distributed ledger technology for settlement of products like this in the derivative securities market. Now, FIX protocol has done exactly that. Support for digital token identifier known as DTI to simplify, standardize communication for trading digital assets. It goes on to talk about the rest of it, but look, this is where we're going. And I have said this lots of times, and I'm going to say it again today. This is the larger side of digital assets. This is the largest part of tokenization. Crypto is a very small sector of digital assets in my mind. The real market is tokenizing everything that's already out here in the world of value. Don't believe it. It's still true. This here from Wrath of Common talking about Oceanus, the Ripple partner, now lists on their landing page. It says announced as an ODL partner in November. Who is Oceanus and why would they use XRP using product? Oceanus is an aqua farm, and shout out to Wrath of Common for this thread. I'm not going to walk you through the whole thread, but it is interesting company that not only they are an aqua farm that harvests, fish and other things like this and sends it all over the world to their different partners and customers, but they also have a media and metaverse company that they're starting as well, and it's quite interesting. And yes, they do use XRP, it appears, as their on-demand liquidity solution. It is pretty remarkable. If you just come all the way down here, I'm not going to read the whole thread, and it's great. Obviously, Wrath of Common does a fantastic job. Oceanus' advertising group ODL use. It says the use ODL in a cross-border trade payment platform benefiting from the line of credit Ripple offers. Further, the group has an interesting tech focus that could lead to more integrations through, though there is no sign of this as of now. But they do. They're involved in the metaverse. They're doing things there. Right here, you can see that. So it's a pretty interesting company and how they're working on things, and we'll keep an eye on it. But they are using ODL for what they do. So now here's something that's tied into that. Talk about line of credit. CTO David Schwartz confirmed that Ripple can pre-fund accounts using their own XRP at very near zero cost. Now, if we get into this just very quickly, it always reminds me when you hear this discussion here about what Miguel Villas had said at his time when he was the head of XRP Global Markets. And what's interesting in this is that, David says here, in response to a thread discussing Ripple's Nostro Vostro accounts and pre-funding, Schwartz explained that instead of pre-funding in every market, customers can pre-fund in just one account and make payments to any on-demand liquidity destination market. Schwartz also highlighted the flexibility of Ripple's system, stating that customers can hold their funds in their preferred asset and pay in a different one. He emphasized the difference between parking USD to make USD Mexican payments versus pre-funding Mexican to make USD to Mexican payments. This flexibility allows customers to have more control over their funds and reduce the need for multiple pre-funded accounts. Regarding the line of credit option, David Schwartz confirmed that Ripple can pre-fund accounts using their own XRP at a very near zero cost. However, the company does take on some credit risk and must charge for that accordingly. In this scenario, the responsibility is shifted to Ripple for a fee as they provide the pre-funding capital in XRP. Despite Ripple taking some credit risk, Schwartz admitted that there is a non-zero risk that the customer will not pay the company back for the XRP, particularly if a customer funds are held in a bank that fails or goes bankrupt for some reason. It's always fascinated me about the eliminating pre-funding of accounts, and what David Schwartz remarks here about the line of credit. It all goes back again to Miguel Villas' comments when he was head of XRP Global Markets and talked about Ripple acting as a lender of last resort. Since before I started this channel, I thought that, XRP would be a stablecoin, but I didn't know the term, right? I always thought some kind of a price set, price floor, what have you, which David said is possible. Now, in this current state of the markets, he doesn't understand why anybody would want to do that at this time, but he has remarked that if knowledge comes in, it changes things. Certainly, maybe it makes the argument for it, but he doesn't see it at this time. Well, I don't see it at this time either, but if you were to bring the entire financial system, or maybe even the G20, onto a XRP ledger, let's say, and tie in the liquidity and utility there, I think you could start to make an argument for such a thing. It isn't the first time we've heard the term global stablecoin or stablecoin in reference to XRP. Not only did I think it before I even was a YouTuber back in 2017 when I found Ripple and XRP, but I also have found, and we've talked multiple times about the World Bank suggesting it, or Mark Carney, the former governor of the Bank of England, suggesting it, or the Bank of China, or going back to May of last year, where we see here it was mentioned by finance feeds. The partnership centers around adopting RippleNet's global payment network service, which leverages Ripple's native stablecoin for instant cross-border payments through on-demand liquidity service. Or maybe in this particular instance of March of last year, where they said the same thing, which leverages Ripple's native stablecoin for instant cross-border payments through on-demand liquidity service. Now, it doesn't seem out of the realm to refer to that as a stablecoin in my mind, and eventually someday it grows from a payments token into that stablecoin, or maybe even get some regulatory help as that designation. Why do I think that? Well, I think that because not only with all the liquidity and utility moving on to a network like that, like we've talked about, but also because the XRP ledger is the world exchange. It is the first decentralized world exchange. XRP is the token that resides on that ledger, decentralized ledger world exchange, to make a market and parity to anything it needs to where applicable. That's a pretty remarkable trait about the XRP ledger. It is, as not like many of the other products out here in the world and projects, it can tie in the world we live in today to the digital world we're moving to. I tell you, it's a pretty remarkable concept. And here's a highlight here. I covered this over the weekend, and I'm not going to cover all of it, but G20's president, India, is now talking about a global template for regulating cryptocurrencies. I'm going to give you just a piece of this clip here, which is absolutely paramount that you hear it. And if you have heard it, you should hear it again.
Acted upon only with all countries coming on board. No one country individually, in a matter of technology-driven a crypto asset, can effectively control it, because technology doesn't have any borders. It can just pass through. So the very character of it being technology-driven requires all countries to be on board. So if you were to regulate here and not regulate elsewhere, it will only flow like that and keep hitting back at you. It will not be effective. And therefore, the understanding today, and I'm glad to say, understanding the G20, along with OECD and other organizations, IMF, World Bank, and so on, is that yes, a global understanding is required, a global template may have to be created, all of us will have to work together on it, otherwise regulating crypto may not be effective.
And there you have it, right? And that sounds like, boy, I tell you, that is the top-down approach at the largest level. The 20 biggest economies of the world, the G20, coming to a consensus and agreeing on a global template. Boy, that is the ultimate top-down. Boy, you talk about a dream scenario. That's what I'm waiting for, because what she's saying is spot on. If you just have a handful of countries that are regulating crypto and then others are not, it's useless, because the tech will just keep coming back at you. And let's be clear, and she was very clear, you cannot control the tech. This is about regulating the activities of the technology. Big difference. And in fact, I believe how it should get done and how it will get done. This is a pretty remarkable comment coming from this woman here. And I tell you, I hope it doesn't fall short on everyone listening, because I don't find it mutually exclusive that the president, India country of the G20, now calling for this global template to be able to regulate crypto and digital asset technology activities in a very, very uniform fashion for consistency. I do not find it mutually exclusive that here at home in the United States, that the United States Treasury and a number of top U.S. financial regulators suggested new rules to make it easier for the Federal Reserve to designate non-bank institutions as systemically important, making it easier to supervise and regulate them. And maybe just one of them ends up being a company called Ripple, or maybe it's the enterprise solution RippleNet. I don't know the answer, but I have been talking about FSOC and systemically important designations for over 2 years. And I believe with what we're seeing on the global stage, it may take FSOC tied to the Treasury to act because Congress is not prepared to. We shall see. And this is Greg Kidd talking here about how much more black swan events are we going to watch keep coming. What we need to start talking about is a white swan event, which is preemptive, is what he's suggesting. Let's focus on the solution to stop the black swan events instead of watching them over and over. Take a listen here.
For me, my point of view, it's inescapable. I can't tell you when it will happen, but when something like FTX blowing up and Binance having the problems it has and the banks blowing up, it kind of tells you that the so powerful looking 2.0 reality we live in, it's kind of built on sand. And like when the tide comes in and tide goes out, every time I'm sort of surprised at how many folks that I thought were dominant in the industry are now just a history chapter in Wikipedia. And this is sort of a social political statement. Like there's always this pyramid of like what's at the top, and what has been at the top have been these Web 2.0 companies and other just traditional institutions like in other industries. And there they are, and then they have accounts and they assign users to those accounts. In the new world, if you flip that pyramid around, everything starts with the user. Like there was a time when if you changed from one phone company to another, you had to give up your phone number because the phone company owned your phone number, and a way of locking you in was to say, well, if you leave, you're leaving us and we own your phone number. You have to get another phone number. But now in the phone industry, users own their phone numbers and the phone companies service you and your phone number. And if we can start to see that in other areas, like your money, like if you switch from one financial institution to another, your money simply stays in the account. You just have a different financial institution servicing it. And you could have multiple financial institutions servicing your account. It's your money. And so if you start to take that across everything, your medical records, the assets that you own, they belong to someone, either a person or an entity at a point in time. There's a trail of provenance. And other folks may service that, they may add value to that. Wherever they are in the value chain or in the supply chain, that's just a story. But it's a story of following the goods and following the people that own the goods. And all those other institutions, they're not at the top of the pyramid. The people and the goods that they use, create, they're at the center of the system. And so it's a user-centric, item-centric view of the world. And all these other institutions, and I'm not anti-institution, I'm not anti-government or anti-corporation, but they're there to serve the people and the goods that are being tracked in a supply chain. When you see like a bank like Silicon Valley Bank collapse in a number of hours, you realize that these things that we thought were absolutely solid and steadfast can be gone over the weekend. And once you see a few of those things disappear, then you really need to have a hard reflection about what is enduring in this world, because these black swan events we have, they keep coming all the time. Pretty soon people have to start talking about white swans.
It really is true. And I have to tell you, from where I sit and what I see, it's going to take regulation, and it's going to take regulation on a global level, and certainly here in the United States. Clarity, 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 regulation, regulation, regulation. When I think of this, and think of this for a moment, to have that harmonization and uniformity when it comes to regulation of digital assets on a global stage. And look at the work that Ripple has done outside of the United States for years, understanding that they've been sued by the SEC. Then just imagine we get the clarity we need here in the U.S. as well, followed by global template with the G20. What does it look like then? A white swan, maybe? Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives.